Okay, this is number 19. Reuben attached a wire between two poles on a hill as shown. Okay. Which is the closest to X, the distance between the two poles? Okay, what are we supposed to do on this one? This is a straight line. That pole is straight. We dash the distance between the poles is this dashed line, which is already marked with an X. And it is a right triangle. So this big triangle here is a right triangle. And we know that the angle, this angle right here, is 20 degrees. And we know that the length of the string is 80 feet. So how are we supposed to figure out a side of the triangle? This is trigonometry. Okay? This is where you've got to remember the definitions for sine and cosine and tangent. And there's different ways to remember this stuff. The most common is this here. SOKATOA, right? Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent equals opposite over adjacent. Meaning, if this is your angle, right, with respect to this angle, this side is the opposite side. It's across from it. This side is the adjacent side. And this side of a right triangle, the one that is across from 90 degrees, is always the hypotenuse. That would not change ever. So based on that, we're supposed to figure out which trig function should we use to solve for this x. Okay, well, this x is the adjacent side, and the hypotenuse is 80. So the adjacent, see, this says sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. That's the one that we need. So we're going to fill it in like this. The cosine of an angle, 20 degrees, equals the adjacent side, which is x, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 80. Right? Solve for x. Okay. Well, this x is being divided by 80. So in order to solve for it, we need to multiply both sides by 80. Right, that cancels the 80, and we know x equals 80 cosine 20. Now, how do you do that? In your calculator, just make sure you're in degree mode. And I don't have my calculator up on the screen right now, so I'm just going to do it here. 80 times the cosine of 20. And make sure you're in degree mode, or in degree mode, and you get 75.2-ish. 75. Looks like all of their values are whole. There are no decimals after it. So x equals 75. Now, if you have trouble with solving this kind of equation, go back to this again. Cosine of 20 equals x over 80. If you have trouble to solve that, and one thing I suggest sometimes is use your calculator to find the cosine of 20 first. Cosine of 20. 0.9397, right? So 0.9397 equals x over 80. And then you can always put this over 1, and any number can be written out, divided by 1. And then cross multiply, right? 0.937 times 80 equals x times 1. I mean, that's an option. If you don't need that option, that's fine. I mean, honestly, this is the way you solve it. Since x was being divided by 80, you multiply times 80 both sides. And the answer was 75.